Hi FlossTube, my name is Jen and I'm here to talk about cross stitch. So I'm very new here. I just discovered FlossTube honestly not too long ago, but I really like the community and I wanted to take some time to share some of what I'm working on, and hopefully if there's anyone out there with any tips on some of the stuff that I'm doing, that would be awesome. Honestly, there may be like 2 people that see this video, one of whom I'm sure will be my mother, but I still feel like this would be a fun thing to do. So I have been cross-stitching since I was about 11 years old, so for a while, but up until now, I really have been doing it kind of all by myself. I didn't really have LNSs or local needle workshops where I had lived previously. I am lucky enough that I have one now. So I've kind of leaned on them for some help, but it wasn't really till I discovered FlossTube here on YouTube to give me a lot of ideas and tips and tricks. So a lot of the stuff I've just been kind of doing my way. I was never taught how to do it. I just kind of figured it out over the years. I really enjoy cross-stitching because it's just a nice escape after work or on the weekends. It's just something that's really relaxing for me, and it seems to be I'm not the only one out there, so that's great. So this will be probably a relatively short video compared to what most people post, since I don't really have much going on right now, but I really hope to. And I thought at the end of the video I would show you one of my finished projects that I finished actually a while ago, so I will do that. So let's get started. I finished a pretty big project very recently, and so I wanted to start a smaller project as well as another large project, but then I found a whole bunch of smaller projects that I wanted to start. So I have, the first one I have is actually a pattern. Let me actually pull up, because I keep everything in an Excel file. I'm not super fancy with the planners. But this one I got from Unique Stitch Crafts on Etsy, and they have a whole like national park series, which I really like because my husband and I are really into the national parks. We want to go to all the national parks at some point, and I'll try to see if I can insert a photo because I don't have it printed out. The other ones I do, I think all of them. So I'll see if I can insert a photo of what the final one's supposed to be like. So, and also there's writing on this, and it's going to be backwards because it's just way easier for me to film where I can kind of see myself. So you'll just have to kind of use your imagination. When it's done, I'll show you a picture of it the right way. The first one is this arches project that I started on, and this is on 20 count Ada. It's a full coverage piece, but it's pretty small. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but I really like this one because we actually live in Utah. We live in the Salt Lake City area, and we love the national parks here. And Arches is a really fun place to go. It's super busy, so you have to like make reservations, I think, to get actually into the park. You know, I finished, this is all the sky and the title and these little birds, I guess is what they are. And so I finished all of that, and I've been working on the, I guess, sandstone is what it is. And I have been using a new technique. The thing that I like about this project is that it's really easy as far as the pattern goes, and that's allowed me to try some new techniques. So one of the things I've been doing with this has been, I've been using a scroll frame, which I've used in the past, but most of everything I've stitched has been on a hoop. So I've been using a scroll frame, and I've actually been practicing two-handed stitching, which was a little difficult at the very, very beginning, but I actually really enjoy it. And I am finding that even after just a couple of days of doing this, I'm getting quicker. So I think that's going to really help me on some of the bigger projects that I want to do. I've also been experimenting with different kinds of ways of stitching. So I've actually been doing this kind of in columns. I've been mostly a cross-country stitcher, I guess is what it's called. I didn't know that it had a name until recently. So I saw all these tutorials on like parking and doing it in columns, which parking's not really, this pattern's not really conducive to that, but following the pattern in columns is a new thing for me. And now I've been trying to feather them a little bit because I know column lines are like a big issue is what it seems to be. So I've been feathering this a little bit. And the other fun thing is I actually discovered Pattern Keeper, because a lot of the patterns I was doing were printed. And so I didn't actually know that there was a really good app for it. And I downloaded Pattern Keeper and I've been using it for this, and it is amazing. You know, I won't be using it for all of my projects, but this project has been a really good practice for a lot of things. So yeah, so that's my arches. And again, I'll try to insert a photo of what it's supposed to look like, and maybe try to insert a photo of it not backwards for you. But yeah, so that's one of the ones I am working on. So the next one that I'm working on, this is kind of a new thing for me. It's very small, but it has beading in it. So I saw someone on FlossTube doing one of these little Mill Hill kits with beading. And let me just get my needle minder off. And I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. So this is a little kit that I got. It's from Mill Hill. It is by Debbie Mum, I think, does this series. And this is just the orange bird. There's 3 other birds. And it's hard to tell, but there is like a bunch of beading like in the wings and on the flowers down here. And I've never done beading before, so I'm really excited to get to that part. I just started this yesterday. It's been a little difficult for me because the pattern is like all black and white and it's really tiny. And so I have been having a little trouble with that, but it's not too bad. The other thing that I thought was interesting was when I got the kit, it had all the threads and everything in it, and it had like the names and the symbols and all of that, but the threads themselves weren't labeled. And this was the first kit I had ever gotten. And I'll talk about this again in one of my next projects, where the threads weren't labeled. So I took all the threads out and I looked at the names and matched all the colors to the names. And it actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. And I got these little acrylic little thread drop things, I guess they're called. I got these on Etsy, and they're clear, and they're a little flimsier than I would like, but they're working out really well. And I don't have a little binder clip for them yet, but I will. You can put them on a ring. So I just did that, and I just wrote the numbers of the colors on the things. And then these will be reusable because permanent marker is dissolvable with alcohol. So I figure I can use these with other projects, but I'll probably get some more of these for one of the other projects that I have. So I'll just show you what I've done so far. So again, this is what it's supposed to look like. And then this is how far I've gotten. So I've gotten the bottom half, I guess, of the bird. And this is actually blended. It's like bright orange and rust. You can't tell that it's a blended color because they're so close together as far as color-wise goes. I think it'll come out more once I get the other oranges and things up here. So like I said, this is kind of a little project. It really hasn't taken me that long. It's just like big blocks of color. And the hardest thing for me is just making sure that I'm on the right line because the pattern is relatively small. So yeah, so that's where that is. I have a feeling I'll be at least like done with the stitching pretty quickly on this. I do try to stitch every day. At least I have been, but we'll see. We'll see how this one goes. I do try to stitch every day, and until recently, I've really only worked on one project at a time, and it was kind of hard because I'd start getting irrationally angry at my projects, where they just were driving me up the wall, and so I would put them down, and I'd have to put them down because it was just becoming too much. But I didn't have other projects going on, so I wouldn't stitch for like, I think my last one, I took a 6-month break from. And I think if I had had some smaller projects going, I would have been stitching during that 6-month time. Now that project, it came out absolutely beautiful, and it's at the framers right now. So hopefully I'll get to show that to you guys at some point. So yeah, so that's the other one I'm working on. I think that's going to be super cute. So these are the only 2 projects I have actively going right now, but I'm going to start, and that was another reason I wanted to make this video, was just to talk about what I was going to start. And I think this will be a good way to hold myself accountable, so to speak, so that I have things to show everyone if people are actually interested. So I'll show you the next one I'm planning on working on. And this one I'm actually I'm excited and terrified of it at the same time. So I found this, it's a Dimensions Gold Collection Petite. And I found this on eBay. I just kind of came across it. I don't think it's in print anymore. The copyright on it says 2002, so I don't know when the last time it was that they printed it. But it's called Amaryllis in Bloom, and this is what it looks like. And it's only 4 by 8 inches. Sorry about the glare there. It's 4 by 8 inches, so it's really small, and I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. I've done a lot of dimensions kits before. Actually, I think most of what I've done has been, in recent years at least, have been dimensions kits. And I really like them. They're super detailed. The thing that's going to be, I think, difficult for me, there's 2 things. Number one is all this on the outside is like this, what do they call it? It's silver cord. So let me see if so again, they send you these threads. There's 2 bundles, and they don't tell you what the colors are. So this will be interesting. But the silver cord is like this thick cord that I'm going to have to do couching on. Dimensions does a lot of couching and cording and other specialty stitches. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me, not necessarily using this because it seems like it's pretty easy to use, but to get it so that it's all symmetrical. The other thing too is I don't know if it tells me, I hope it tells me somewhere what I'm supposed to couch it with, because I mean, I don't think I guess you could couch it with itself, but it seems pretty thick to do that with. So I'll have to figure that out. I'm planning on starting this, at least getting it going, hopefully this week, sometime, depending on how my week is. My job is a bit unpredictable, and there are some days where I'm done and home by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then there's some days where I'm not done until 9 o'clock at night. So it just kind of depends. So I can't ever, say I'm going to stitch every day. Like I don't know. It's 100% unpredictable. So yeah, so this is the Amaryllis in Bloom. I'm going to get started on this, hopefully this week. And I think this will be really pretty once it's done. The other thing too, I should note, is that these little pistils, I guess you call it. You can't really tell, it's not focusing, but at the tips of the pistils, I guess that's what they're called, I don't know. They use a bullion knot, which I had never heard of before. And I looked it up, and it's actually a knot that they use in embroidery more so than cross stitch. So I've done some embroidery, and maybe I'll show you some of my embroidery stuff next time. But this knot, I'm going to have to practice, I think, before I do it, because it seems not super complicated, but just not really sure how to do it. I'm going to have to watch several videos on it and practice on some spare fabric with some spare floss. Because again, it's an embroidery stitch, but I think it's going to be really beautiful once this is all done. And you'll find I like the process of stitching, but I also like finishing stuff. So I see people out there with, just a ton of whips going. And I think that that's awesome. And that will probably be me at some point. But I do have to have these kind of smaller projects. And again, look how tiny this is. This is the fabric that they gave. So it's pretty tiny. I like to have these smaller projects so that I can finish stuff. And I'm not waiting like 5 years to finish a project. I'll still work on those big projects, but I like to have some at least that I finished. Now the next one is one I wanted. So originally I was thinking I wanted to try I like full coverage pieces. So a lot of what I do is full coverage in the technical sense of the term. But I think when people talk about full coverage, a lot of times they're talking to these more intricate designs. So I was thinking about doing a heaven and earth design, and there's a few that I think I'm gonna start probably in the next month or so, but or couple months, I guess, because I found this other pattern that's smaller. It's only, I think, 9 by 9 inches, and I got this from the Cross Stitch Studio, and it's a snippet. So it's a smaller one, and this I think is going to give me some practice. I'm working on the full coverage. It's called Drake Warrior Kitty. I don't know why, I looked at all of these snippets and I saw this and I was like, I have to stitch a kitten in armor. It's just absolutely adorable. And again, it's smaller. It's like 9 by 9 inches, which in the grand scheme of things is not tiny, but there's a lot of confetti. I don't know how I'm going to do this yet. I really like the parking method. It's very methodical, I guess is the word. And it takes a lot of the decisions out of, what to stitch next. But I haven't really done it with something like this before. So we'll see what I do. I guess the thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, and I would love if some people had advice, is the rethreading of the needles. This has 72 DMC colors. And, some of them, I can't show you the whole pattern, but I'm wondering if I can just show you a square. There's how many different colors in there. And there's all these different, and then you have all these park threads, which is great, but you do a couple and then you have to rethread. So I'm going to try it, but I'm really bad at threading needles for some reason. And I don't know if I'm just using the wrong size needle. I've been using a 28 on the 20 count, but maybe I can go bigger so I have a bigger eye. If there's anyone out there that has any suggestions or advice, that would be awesome. I do have a needle threader, but it's hard to use those needle threaders on the smaller needles. So maybe I just need to go up to a larger needle. I don't know. So this one I have the fabric for. I went to my LNS and got the fabric for it. There were 72 colors, so I didn't want to spend an hour at the store getting that, so I did get that online at, I think it's 123 Stitch. So those colors are coming 2 days, I think. And then I'll spend some time prepping the floss, and I'm gonna try the floss bags for this one on a binder, or actually I got a little like box, like a couple index card boxes, not so little, but the floss away bags are the same size I found out as index cards. So I'm gonna try using those to see if that's a good way to organize them, obviously in numerical order. But a lot of this right now is just experimenting with different ways of doing things that I've seen other people on FlossTube do. So there's that. So that's really all I have as far as works in progress. I thought I would show you, and I may have to turn my light off. So this is one of my projects that I finished a couple years ago. I always like to show, I figured it'd be fun to show a finished project. I finished this a couple years ago, and this one has kind of a funny story behind it. So this is actually the second time I've done this pattern. This is a dimensions pattern. And what happened is I did it and I finished it years ago. I mean, probably like 10 years ago. And I somehow lost it. Like I lost the finished piece. I didn't have it hadn't been framed yet. And I think just during all my moves, because I had to move around for school for a lot up until about 5 years ago when I finally was able to settle here in Utah. And I think just in my moves, somehow it got lost. And it always really bothered me because I really liked it. And so because I couldn't stop thinking about it, I said, okay, I'm just going to do it again. So I did the whole thing again. And literally as soon as I finished it, like it got completely finished and framed, and I sent a picture to my mom, like 2 hours later, she sends me a picture of the piece that had been missing. It was at their house, and I don't know how it got there. I don't know how long it was there for, but we did end up finding it. But at that point, all the back stitching had been kind of stretched out, and so I don't obviously have the first one. So I don't have the name because I didn't really start keeping track of stuff until just honestly, like just in the last like week or two. I was like, oh, I should be writing all this stuff down. But it's a dimensions kit, and it's a little kitty. It's a little kitty on a bookshelf. And I had originally picked this out because the cat reminded me of the cat that I had, who unfortunately passed away a little while ago. And this cat looks a lot like her, except for the tail. My cat actually did not have a tail. She was born that way. But it's really cute. And it's got all these cute little like book titles that are all cat related. And it actually wasn't that difficult of a stitch project to do, but I thought it came out really cute. I didn't do much with the framing. Like I didn't do matting or anything on it, which I don't know, maybe I should have done, but yeah, it's just really cute. It's got some gold floss in here on the back stitching. It's got like the 3 Mouseketeers, Wharf-Rats, the Killer Sparrow, like just cute little things. So anyway, so yeah, so that's one of my finished projects. I have a few. I just honestly, some of them are still packed up from our move like a year ago. So anyway, so that's what I have. And I think, I don't know how often I will do this. I mean, maybe once a month or so. I've seen some people who do it weekly, and I think that's a little much for me because I think there's going to be some weeks where I stitch a lot and some weeks where I don't get very much done at all. So I may try to post once a month. Who knows? I may not ever post again if no one watches this, but I probably still will, because I think this is going to be a good way to hold me accountable for, just making sure that I am stitching, and I'm stitching different pieces. So, and I'm not getting like obsessed over one, because that does tend to happen sometimes. But yeah, so thank you for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you all maybe in about a month or so. It's February 27th, 2022 right now. So I'm thinking I'll probably film stuff at the beginning of the month, so, or end of month, so maybe the end of March, whatever that weekend is, and we'll see how all of this goes. But thank you so much for joining me, and definitely please leave comments if you have any suggestions or tips or anything, especially the threading with parking. I can't wrap my head around it just yet. So, yeah, definitely leave me comments if you have any tips. I am just opening myself up to this whole world of, I've been doing this for a while, but I feel like there's this whole other world of cross stitch that I never even knew existed. So I'm really excited. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend, or had a great weekend, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.